I'm that girl who understands how love works in 3D. It's incredible because we are all really used to having the high frequency, pure love of source, as that is part of who we are, is what we are in our natural form, in our natural state. And so as we get curious and want to be a little bit independent, to have our own personal experiences, we start separating from source, not because we've had an argument or a divorce, but because we're just curious and we want to have independent experiences, fun times. And so as we get more and more curious and more brave, potentially is a word, we start moving again from our higher self, and then again from our subconscious. And we may have many other counterparts, and I know we're multi-dimensional beings. And so when we are part of source still, when we're part of higher self still, when we're part of subconscious still, and then we're us, we're still all connected. It is like we are still the nail, we are the fingernail in 3D, living our best fingernail life, but we're still connected to the subconscious and the higher self, and then all the whole body of everything. We're all one, everything. It is not possible to not be attached to the finger unless you did severe things, right? But then that is only in the physical, and you would still have the connections to everything, even if you severed your own fingernail off your whole body. And it's not really possible to do that. You cannot divorce yourself from source. I don't know, people would really want to do that. In fact, we're all trying to clamber our way back into that high frequency of love, to be back with source. And that is ultimately the final big evolution, is to go away from source, have different experiences, and merge back with all of your lessons and experiences and knowledge and wisdom, to come back into the expansion, the ever expansion of the experiences and wisdoms and energy that source is. So it's really fascinating experiences to have sessions with people who go back to source, and to have healing and a whole lot of other sort of stuff as they contemplate what next with my curiosity. But I'll just have a mini holiday as I regain my composure and process all of my thoughts and feelings about what happened and all those other experiences. So marvelous. When you have a connection and conversation with source, there's so high perspective, everything is well. All is well, they say in sessions. All is well. And then we come a little bit lower in our 3D density and start nitpicking and going, well, how is all of this well? Don't you understand a war? All that sort of stuff, right? So it's really interesting when we start losing faith and trust, how we start micromanaging the details and the complexities that we choose to experience with our emotions. And so it seems to be a really common theme for people. So, there's no point even needing to name names, because it seems very consistent in the majority of my clients and people that I know. They don't know how to truly love self, and they don't really know how to truly love others. And so somewhere along their journey in this stage, they're still stuck at that. Of course, I have had some incredible, amazing gifts to humanity clients that do love and respect themselves, and in return can love and respect others. And I just find that incredible, considering the distractions and opportunities to not be so loving. And so it's very, very, very interesting and purposeful where we're at on our journey. And we know that our teams are prompting us to be able to get a wriggle on and have these experiences and learn the lessons for all. Lots of people are still stuck on the trauma and refusing to see that there was a purpose for that trauma, that there was a lesson and experience to help you overcome something. And it seems like for all of the significances and all the lessons of a trauma, it always seems to be for you to have an opportunity to grow from. And that growth was all to empower yourself, for you to experience the trauma, to then be able to identify, I didn't deserve that. And instead of hating that person, I'm going to still give them love and compassion, understanding that's really appalling for them to still treat people like that. So that's obviously where they're at in their journey. And I am going to be able to heal myself emotionally, knowing that that was yesterday, today is today. And I know I do not deserve that experience. And so I will be choosing to have different experiences, and I will not be putting myself in the same situation. I will not tolerate that, blah, 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 blah. But I know with a lot of clients, when it's trauma from childhood, they still hold on to that and still relive the trauma and bring it into their daily thoughts and processes. They will sabotage any success in their daily adult lives because of the statements that they were told by their parents that really limited and defined them and broke them down. And so they're still bringing that trauma into today. And so they are looping, and they are doing all sorts of interesting things to disempower themselves. And when they keep saying, but it was my parents and the trauma my parents gave me back then, it's like, well, your choices today are you. It's not your parents. Your parents aren't even in your life. And so it's there's so much. I just had an abundance of clients recently, and it just seems like I'm trying to process all of what seems to be in general. And so the past relationships, whether it's our parents or our relationships and, friendships or whatever was still hurt from or haven't grown from, this was always usually a contract for them to play that role to make us feel this way. So we would never do it to someone else, and that we would then learn those experiences and then realize we don't deserve that. And so to send ourselves love and to center ourselves and empower ourselves and all this sort of stuff. So judgment of others. Along the stages of our journeys, we've been judged by others, and it can really define someone. You can either know your truth and value and worth and say that judgment doesn't serve me because that doesn't state who I am. So we do not care what other people think or feel about us, because we know that we are not what they're projecting on their own insecurities onto us. So we know who we truly are. If we are a troll and a horrible person and are hurting, so we hurt others and we get called out on that, yes, there is definitely lessons in learning there. But if we are trying to be as kind and compassionate and caring and supportive and empowering of others, and yet we discover there are people who are wanting to hurt us, we know that we don't deserve it, but it's a defining moment. Do we sabotage all our happiness and well-being for judgment and criticism of someone else's who doesn't know us, doesn't know our intentions, doesn't know our agendas, and then just start collapsing into that? So love is such a powerful thing, and we really can't scratch into the surface. It's almost like the love of source, and what we're really used to is in love, what we really normally used to marinate ourselves in. It is like that smorgasbord of high love frequency, right? But at this stage in 3D, it's almost like we can smell it's in the other room. Oh, it smells really good and fantastic, and I want some, but I can't taste it. I can't have it. I can't eat my body weight in it, because we're so far removed from source. We're so far removed from that really high power frequency of intensive love. Yes, when we have inner peace and we have balance and neutral and see things from the bigger perspective, when we trust ourselves, when we trust others, when we know all is well, yes, we can have that best attempt and version of love and balance. And this is why a lot of people love meditating, because they can get that hint of that higher frequency. But I can tell you, when people tell me, oh, I definitely know what love is, Joe, I love my children, I love my pets, I love my family, blah, 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 blah. And when they have a session and they feel the source love energy of source, it is a next level. And this is why we sometimes really struggle and feel so isolated and alone, even though we could be surrounded in a room of people, because we're really seeking that. It is like food for us. It really nurtures us. And we really are so used to that higher frequency. It feels like home. And so it's not a location often when people say, I'm homesick. It's more like you're lovesick. you're wanting that frequency of love, that high abundance of just all is well, and it just completely marinates you in that comfort. And this is why lots of people find when they go to have experiences where their soul families come in to give them a signature frequency, often they can freak out because it's so foreign to them now. It's so foreign to them now when they get given love that they think, I'm being attacked by something. This is negative. And it's so interesting when we do sessions with people who think that they're being negatively attacked, and it's just big energies of love, but you're so confused and disconnected and so disorientated with what real love is. People can confuse it and trip into their egos and fear and think it's something bad that's happening to them. So, what can the teams do? They try to give you their love, and we freak out thinking that it's negative. They try to push and guide us to give us great experiences to learn from, to overcome from, and empower ourselves back, and to strengthen ourselves and have more courage and faith in ourselves, more love in ourselves. So it's really, really, really interesting. And of course, when we know that we're in gardens full of cactuses around us because they haven't even understood how to do their inner work, let alone identify that that's something that they need to do. It is quite an interesting journey, isn't it? As we grow ourselves and shine, and it often can make many cactuses feel very frustrated because they don't understand how could we feel so safe? How could we feel so comfortable? And how could we just be radiating our inner peace and joy and happiness? And this is when you get even more targeted because they want to bring you down. And so there's that. So it's really interesting because a lot of, I've noticed from lots of people's behavior when they're in relationships, for example, they write the list of questions, and they want the healing, and they want a lot of, want the subconscious to do a lot of things for them in sessions, which is really valid, right? So, the list, the fantastic centers list that we get the subconscious to, like, can you explain everything in my life and heal everything? Thank you very much. And so the subconscious is very helpful because it wants to explain to us our lessons, our inner work, and what we have to do. And the subconscious always says, I can't do everything for you. You actually have to do quite a bit of stuff for yourselves, but I'm going to give you the information and the perspective of what you kind of need to do to get on with it, to be able to help yourselves. And so lots of people are really struggling with their relationships, for example, right? So my husband doesn't love me. They say, subconscious, make my husband love me. And I want to feel his love, and I want him to just worship me, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. And that's valid, right? I guess. And so the subconscious then will say something which is really interesting, and I almost sort of feel like, I kind of sometimes want to not be in the room when the subconscious is really calling out honesty for the client. And so it usually goes along something like this. My client wants me to ask the subconscious, make my husband love me. Okay. And so, or some sort of version of that. So I will simply ask the subconscious what my client wants, which is valid. All husbands should love their wives, right? And so it usually has, the answer usually isn't, sure, I'll do that for you, not a problem. Because usually it's, it could breach their free will. Often the subconscious says, well, yeah, they do love you, but you can't see their love. You are expecting something else. They're still loving you. And that's a really valid thing. They're not just loving you. They're not disrespectful. They don't hate you, but yet you're still needing something that they can't provide for you. So then you wipe out everything that they are representing to you because you don't feel their love. And then so there's so many different various conversations that I have with the subconscious about this. And often it seems like the subconscious will put it all back onto the client and say, you need to love them. You have stopped loving them. How can you expect to be given love and attention and appreciation when you haven't given it to them for years? You've shut down. And they sort of keep reminding us that you have to be equal. You have to love to receive love. And so this is really hard, isn't it? When we are loving people and they haven't done enough of their inner work to love themselves, let alone love ourselves back. So, there is that. But when people are sort of like, so bitter and frustrated. I hate my husband. He doesn't love me. I'm demanding he loves me. And I won't do anything until he loves me first. And it's kind of like, well, this is a really interesting, mature game, isn't it? Because who's going to start loving who? When you're in a relationship with anything, whether it's a friendship and, or anything, love wins, right? We always have heard this. So why have we stopped loving certain people in our lives? And we can love everyone, even the most prickliest cactuses, even the most rudest trolls. We love them energetically. We love their souls. We don't love their choices, and that's fine. And we certainly don't need to waste our time with them when they have those choices, because we know that they're just toxic. But that's not we can still love them, but not, invite them in to be in our lives. We can love them and respect that that's their choices. It's definitely not our choices, but, you do you. And that is fine for us. We know that their teams are going to kick them in the ass, trip them up many times. It's going to embarrass them until they, they figure out what the lessons are there. So, it's all super purposeful, but it's really interesting when a lot of clients, or just in people in general, they're really bitter and resentful because they're not getting the love that they need. They've never told their partners the love they need. So somehow we still think that people are psychic and can read our thoughts. And I can tell you, a lot of husbands are probably really grateful they cannot read their wives' thoughts. It's a choice, and so that is all fine, but I can understand when you haven't been given the love and support and nurture in your relationship, potentially even because you were not loved and supported as a child, you're putting everything on that one person. And then what does the subconscious say? You need to actually start loving people to be able to get it. But primarily, you must love yourself. And it's so interesting when we talk about this all the time, right? Love yourself, because if you can't love yourselves, you cannot feel the love of others, because you're wanting everything from that person. You want the complete source love energy to be just given to you by someone in the 3D. And then when they can't provide you with source love energy, that's when we feel really like, well, you're holding back. So, really be honest with what your expectations are with love with others. Is it even possible for them to give you love source energy? Yes, we all deserve love source energy, but remember where we are. We're on Earth in a 3D meat suits, experiencing distance from source to be able to see, are we going to empower ourselves and love others, or are we just going to be victims to not being in source energy? And so it was really fantastic. Yesterday I had this fantastic conversation with this woman who was talking about the mandates here in New Zealand. And something she said was just really, it's really struck a chord with me, which, there's discrimination here. And I know it's, when there is mandates, there is lots of interesting choices there. So I just want to talk about my country for a second. And the woman said, she doesn't think that the mandates have pushed people into being discriminate. She feels it's just revealed who they are. And so lots of people are like, oh, my hands are tied. But has it? Because it sort of almost feels like, what's in your heart? Do you really love everyone, or are you quite happy to discriminate once you get the license to discriminate? Oh, it's mandates. We've got to just, completely go with it. And so it's really interesting. I wish I could remember her exact words. It was, it's only revealed who they really are inside. And so, yeah, I just thought, yeah, that is so, so true, because we all have this assumption everyone wants to love each other, wants to empower each other, love, and support each other. And then you actually stumble across quite a few interesting people who do not want to empower each other. They're in this really intensive competition with life, and they want to destroy anyone who looks like they've got anything more than them. So it's like they live in this bubble where they think there is only the small portion of happiness. And if you've got it, you've taken it from them and you're a threat. And so they will try to do anything to destroy you, to take your happiness away from you, because then they've got it. Yeah, I got the key. And so, you know, there's really interesting experiences that, you know, I've learned in so many sessions from different people's experiences of, you know, how their friends and family have treated them. And, you know, it's quite sort of shocking, because when we come from a true natural state of empowering and love and support and honesty and integrity, and that's who we truly are, and then we stumble across these really valid professional people and then experience they don't have the same agenda. And you sort of want to think, what collective are you from still? And, you know, that's kind of a lazy assumption that they could be just like reptilians or something like that, right? Because often they're just not. They're just not motivated to grow up. They're not motivated to be mature, and they still have this competition in life where they're just feeling like everyone's a threat until they win. I'm not too sure what they're winning, because it sort of seems like they're really losing because they're just not able to respect themselves or others, and to be able to see we're all one. So, you know, there's a choice. So anyway, it's really interesting. It's such an interesting epiphany when you see the clients coming out of the sessions, and to, you know, recall what the subconscious said about how they can get their husbands to love them. And, you know, the subconscious can't, you know, make people, you know, choose to have better behavior or different behavior, but the subconscious is to show the client the bigger perspective. And it's kind of interesting when the client then has to sort of confess, oh, okay, so it seems like my subconscious then wants me to start loving my husband. And it's like, yeah, that's a great start, right? Like, if you want to be loved and respected, you have to kind of start off at first. And lots of people are still stubborn in that, no, he's done too many wrong things. He's missed too many anniversaries. I'm not budging. He needs to completely beg and grovel for my forgiveness before I will contemplate starting to love him. And that's a choice, you know, that's all interesting stuff. So the whole thing about, you know, lots of, you know, when we ask what is the lessons and experiences that the husband and wife want to learn from each other this lifetime, you know, it really seems to be quite a consistent love, have unconditional love for each other. Sounds super easy, right? But when you are still expecting it to be given on your terms before you will play your role, there is that disbalance. And, you know, so whoever's listening to this, who's kind of realized that to receive love, you must give love. You know, I mean, it's very testing, aren't they? Those cactuses. You want to just get those big gloves and those secateurs and just start snipping away those cactus, those prickly pricks, because, you know, they're really painful. But remember, you know, let's just imagine, because they, you know, they've said in sessions that those cactuses are really soft inside, right? So when they have soft inside and they have these extruding prickles that are trying to hurt you, imagine each time they try to hurt you, they're really, the you know, the needle goes both ways. So they're ultimately hurting themselves as well, aren't they? So they're not getting joy. And we do know some people that love destroying others, and they get super gleeful when they hurt others, you know, and there's a name for that. But, you know, that is, you know, there's so much to be said about these things, isn't it? So just remember that the cactuses are really just hurting themselves. So we have to remember that they've got that soul, bigger essence. And what if your life contract with each other is to just empower yourselves to know that you don't deserve that? And so when you don't accept that kind of behavior, and when you don't entertain that and you don't react to it, because often they just love the reactions, right? That's when they get off on it. That's when they feel really gleeful. Ooh, I think I made her cry, or get angry and come down to my vibration, because then we can have a pity party together and blah, blah, blah. Super, super, super interesting. So people keep forgetting that we choose to have control of how we feel. We choose what we want to think. We choose what we want to focus on. We choose how we approach our connections with others. You know, we have massive choices, and, you know, we get to choose every single choice and action that we make. Is it to empower ourselves or disempower ourselves? Is it to enable others or disable others? We want to be able to keep moving forward in empowerment. And often we sort of think, well, we've already sown 1,000 seeds. They're like, now instead of a cactus, they're actually one of those bird bell things where it's like, they're just a shape and they've just got all this like sticky surface and they've got like a million seeds all around them. And they're just walking their best lives covered in seeds that we've planted for them, but they haven't absorbed any. They haven't penetrated any of those seeds, and there is certainly nothing that looks like it's going to germinate on them while they're literally walking around with all of our little epiphanies and seeds that we've sown for them. And so, we can see where they're at and still love them and still respect ourselves. And sometimes not holding the prickly cactus's hands as they go through their own journey, but just love them is the best thing that we can do. And remember, what if their life contract isn't to do all of their inner work because they've already done it in another lifetime? They are getting to be those cactuses to push you and prick you into empowering yourself, to love yourself. And when you're with Source, all is love, and you are loved by all. And the independent experiences that you have in the 3D is to love self. There is a difference between selfish and having love of self. And I think a few people I know don't know the difference between selfish versus loving self and honoring self. And so that's when the ego gets tripped up and they sort of have that real entitlement of, being selfish versus is accepting and honoring who they are and loving themselves and others, and not seeing competition or threats or anything like that. They know their role and placement in the world, and they respect and honor all other people's placements and roles in the world. So, super purposeful. So everything has a purpose. Everything has a lesson. And it's always, when you go to the summary of all experiences, is to empower you to love yourself, honor yourself, respect yourself, and all that fantastic stuff. And I know that this is just all lots of words, but when you actually start applying it, think of a bigger trauma you've had. You've either overcome it or you haven't. Now look at it and understand that it was a great lesson for you, as hideous as it was, as hideous and painful and horrible, and it should never have occurred, blah, 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 all of that really honest, valid stuff. But yet, what did it learn? What did it teach you? What did you learn from it? We say this often, this is a really common theme, but something happened to you which was not okay. And so you got to experience that. Now, could it have been karma in another lifetime? Did you do that to someone else? What is the lessons there that you want to experience? Why did your guides allow this to occur for you to learn from, experience from, grow from, feel from, overcome from? Super purposeful. So when you have overcome it, because you end up loving, which I know is really full on. How can someone love being raped, for example, right? You don't love the actions or the trauma, but you love the lessons that got you to be empowered to know you are stronger, you're unbreakable. All of these lessons to empower yourself out of that journey. So the horrible density, the horrible experience, yucky, hideous, but what you grew from it, what you learned from it, along all the way, potentially you could identify and talk to others who had had same experiences and be able to help with sharing experiences and healing with each other and finding a community and commonality and all this sort of stuff. You actually can grow from these really horrible tragedies in really profound ways. And while it's really unnecessary to have that experience, it had to occur for you to have all of those other experiences along the way to be able to help others, to communicate with others, to help yourself. So, it's awful. It is awful what we have to experience, but significant, purposeful. So it is horrible. And, I don't condone it at all. I don't want anyone to be ever hurt or traumatized or impacted by others in a negative way. But when that does occur, it is for the lessons to empower ourselves. And, there's just this density is so traumatizing in itself, isn't it? And so it seems like a lot of people that are going to be really helpful very soon have had to experience all sorts of different things to be able to prepare themselves to be supporting others. So when you've overcome something, you get to learn from all of those experiences, the range of feelings, how vulnerable you feel, how you can identify when someone else is feeling very vulnerable, and you can understand them so profoundly without even having conversations, without even expressing words. You can feel it in the energy, what they've experienced and been exposed to. And so you can just intuitively know where they're at in their journey because of their demeanors and their reactions to certain things. So it seems like we're all in big training for certain things. And I just love something that came out of a session yesterday with Jesus, who came into a fantastic client session. And the message was to my client, he's enough. Just being here is enough. And he just feels like he just keeps needing to be of more service. And Jesus is almost saying, my friend, my dear friend, you are beyond enough. Just being here is enough. You have got such a beautiful, kind, gracious heart, and you just love people so profoundly. That's perfect. That's enough. That is enough. And when we love people so much and they're still struggling to feel our love, it is not because our love for them is not profound. It's because they're still on their journey to not be accepting love. For whatever reasons, they don't feel like they deserve love, or they misunderstand love, or they're holding on to a whole lot of other stuff that is disconnecting them from love. So they're on that journey to rediscover and find their way back into the powerhouse, high frequency vibration of love. So, I just love having clients like that, where they're just enough because they've done so much of the inner work. They're not holding on to victim mode. They're empowering themselves. They're loving each other, and just truly, truly, truly have this beautiful compassion for all. And that is, I know that makes Jesus very proud, and it makes everyone want to inspire to be like that, because that is truly where the joy in life is, when you really, truly love and accept and respect all, and have deep compassion for all, and will go out of your way for all. While there is that challenge and balance, when we are like that, when we are loving, often we will get those people who want to misuse that energy and want to take what we have, because they feel like we've got their joy, their happiness, their love. And so, it is a fine balance between not losing yourself and your balance, and being able to be of service to others. And it's incredible. It's incredible how we navigate through our lives, right? But love is infinite. There is no limit of love, only what our perception is of love. And so when we try to encourage others and inspire others to love themselves, and that can be said in a few fantastic seeds of wisdom, or positivity and reinforcement of them to them, can be really powerful. So there's so much that is coming out now for future experiences in sessions, which is really fantastic. I think everyone's going to be pretty pleased how things will unfold soon. And that is, it's really remarkable, just remembering that we are not vulnerable victims. Our higher selves and subconsciouses are here always to support us. And whatever is going to happen for humanity is always going to be the best. But if you are thinking that anything that is happening for humanity is the worst, that is merely a perception, because you have to know that from these challenging experiences, there is that opportunity for that growth and empowerment. So, there are some fantastic things coming, my friends. So keep up the fantastic work, loving yourself and honoring yourself and not comparing yourself to others, and just knowing that you're super special, you're super significant and important being here now. And, knowing your place in this world and your role in this world can really help you, because a lot of you still worry that you should be still loving and healing and praising and being best friends with everyone in the world to help them. And often, we add a lot of responsibilities onto ourselves that actually is not even our role. Yes, energetically, we could just bring in lots of love and be able to share it and send out amazing frequencies to the world and all that sort of stuff. We can do it, but lots of people spread themselves thin trying to support too many people who are actually just disabling themselves and wanting other people to do all of their inner work for them. And it's, it's challenging. It doesn't help them, and it certainly doesn't help you. So, find our balance and neutral is always the best approach for these sort of things. So, this is why they really want us to meditate and to sort of think, what are we supposed to be doing today? This week, how would you like us to approach things? Who really needs my help? It's a really big one, because a lot of people assume it's those squeaky wheels that need the help the most, when it's usually those silent ones who don't actually reach out for help because they feel like that's too selfish if they want to reach out to a friend. And so, definitely use your time to go within and ask your teams, who should I be helping this week, or who should I be trying to reach out to? And, you ask questions, ask. Do not be afraid of asking anything from your teams. Okay, remembering they know if it's a want or a need, and they will do the very best that they can. You're using your free will to ask for support and help, and that is the most profound thing that we can be doing with them, because first of all, we're acknowledging them, and they're like, yes, finally, we can be of service. And then you acknowledge what you want from them, and then, if you could be great, show gratitude towards them too, that would be fantastic, but they don't mind if you forget. But, work with them. They're wanting you to connect in with them the most. They would prefer that over anything else. Your guides, your master guides, know you the best and the most. So for you to go to anything else for any other information about you, why do you not want to go to like the direct source, so to speak? Your subconscious, your own teams. It would be silly to go to someone else to have them mansplain it to you when you are able to have these sessions yourself and to connect in and hear directly from your subconscious, you channeling your subconscious. And it is super easy to just relax into the session and allow this experience to flow through you. It profoundly activates you. It does so much for you. And, I just can't say it enough. To get your own sessions is so profound, and respecting these sessions, they're different from anything else you've experienced. You're almost like, the whole session is occurring as it's occurring, but you are in you're almost like having a nap where you just don't worry or you don't care about what is being said, because you trust all is well as you push your conscious mind out of the way, because it's usually so busy and it wants to guard dog the information in case it's something bad that they say about you. If you've got a control issue, maybe you don't want to have these sessions because you can't let go of the control. What if you're afraid that you're, a worthless piece of shit? Of course, you're not wanting the subconscious to confirm that, but that is a fear. And it's an irrational fear, because everyone's very valuable and important and significant. So what is holding you up from having sessions? In all sincerity, people who are addicted to listening to Conversations with Heaven on Earth and all those sessions, but yet have not considered or tried to even have a session themselves. We need to empower ourselves profoundly, and we need to know all of these sticking points to be able to help us with the bigger perspective. And this is why it seems like a lot of people don't want to have the sessions, because they don't want to then do any more work. They don't want to love people. They don't want to be of service. They don't want to heal and release the traumas. They don't want to grow from it. They don't want to understand the significance. They don't want the lessons. They just want to be. And that is fine. That is a choice. But is that serving you? And will that keep serving you down the path when you see other people growing profoundly? So it is hard work, my friends, but you're so worth it. You're putting in all this hard work for you. No one else really benefits from it the most than from you. And it is like going to the gym once and thinking you're going to have a summer-ready body. You must work at this regularly. And it can't be just a hobby. It has to be a perception to make great choices to empower yourself and others around you. We don't have to keep going back into old routines and behaviors if we choose. We can definitely empower ourselves to make healthier choices with our perceptions of life. So fantastic times, fantastic times. Reach out to me if you do need to find an intern, because I have abundance of interns that are waiting to be able to have experiences with you, who would love to be able to have what we sort of consider would be advanced clients. If you've listened to Conversations in Heaven on Earth and understand that and hold that frequency as you're listening and comprehend it, but you still aren't able to really quite apply it, then you definitely need a session, my friends, and they would love to be able to assist you. They want to grow and understand this information just as much as you. So you would be really doing them a fantastic honor and service to be able to help support them on their journey. So, you know, this work is a gift. The collectives did not bring down this work to be able to access, to use our free will, to get their profound wisdom and knowledge, just to, you know, dismiss it and treat it as if it's entertainment and for shits and giggles. It's not. There's a very big significance of why they have this open door access to them. This takes their sort of energy away when we are constantly calling them down. And they are very busy focusing on certain things. And so are we dismissing everything that they've ever done for us in terms of content in those sessions? Because it's their information. We want to honor them. And if we haven't been able to honor them properly before, we can again choose to make the choices to be able to honor them now. They're very forgiving, but are you forgiving of self? A lot of people kick themselves around because I've only just woken up, Joe. I was such a dummy. I've only just discovered the stuff, and you know, I'm just so slow to it, and I'm behind, and I've got to rush. And it's like, that is one perspective. The other perspective is it wasn't ready for you to be awoken then. It is for you to be awoken now. How are you going to move forward from it? And instead of being awake and angry with yourself for not knowing the stuff earlier, what about being awakened now and be happy for now and empower yourself now and grow now? Why does it have to have that resentment and that frustration of things should have been different? Everything's perfect. They've got great capabilities to shake the shit out of us if we're off purpose or path. So trust that they are doing their jobs really well. Okay, so whoever that was for, may you go with love, and may you empower yourselves with lots of water. It is profound right now. And enjoy the way it feels to have excitement in your lives as we are unfolding the grand awakening in many ways. So enjoy your days, my friends, and until next time.